Fellow citizens, in order to promote the attainment of these overarching goals, as well as exert pressure on the regime to deliver on the specific and immediate objectives of opening up civil and political space, initiating the promulgation of a permanent constitution, and the holding of free and fair elections, I have hereby resolved to temporarily freeze my membership of the SPLM till it is once again fit for purpose, and to declare the launch of the South Sudan Salvation Movement, the SSSM, as a temporary vehicle for waging the struggle to wrest control of the SPLM out of the hands of those who have hijacked and held it captive for so long. The SSSM is an organization that shall operate under the umbrella of the United People's Alliance, of which it shall be a constituent member, as it acts in concert with other opposition, political, and armed groups for the realization of the aforementioned aims and objectives. The SSSM is not an end in itself. It is not intended to replace the SPLM. It is being conceived simply as a device to steer fundamental reforms within the SPLM and bring about its total renaissance. It will merely be a catalyst for correcting the course of a movement that has gone astray. And I therefore call upon all SPLM members who wish to save their movement to immediately join the SSSM and by extension, the United People's Alliance, the UPA. Fellow citizens, I urge full mobilization so as to start waging our multi-pronged campaign of the second liberation in much the same way the masses of our people did between 1983 and 2011 to consummate the first liberation struggle and achieve independence. I urge all the masses of our people in the urban centers and the rural areas to rise up and reclaim their power that the regime has usurped. I encourage all SPLM rank and file, patriotic elements of the SSPDF and the National Security Service, the NSS, other organized forces, and all other patriotic and peace-loving citizens to rise up in mass action to reclaim our country by creating the conditions necessary to compel the Juba regime to write a new constitution and conduct free and fair multi-party elections before the end of 2026. We must act now, and I call for an uprising of the masses of our people so that we can accelerate the process of reorienting our country in the direction of the state we have long aspired to, a multinational state of peace, justice, and prosperity for all. And in order to achieve concerted mass popular action, I exhort patriotic elements within the SSPDF and other organized forces not to quell any popular protest action in order to do so, but instead to act to protect it. Our communities must stop shedding each other's blood in senseless clashes. They should instead come together and redirect their campaign against the regime and the opportunistic politicians that have used and failed them. It is the dysfunctional nature of our state that pits our communities against one another, because we have all now been obliged, in the absence of a state capable of protecting lives and property and dispensing justice, to take the protection of our lives and possessions into our own hands. Fellow citizens, as I make this statement, I am certain some of you will be quick to accuse me of hypocrisy and disingenuousness, and I can understand that. After all, I've been part of the Juba political setup since its inauguration in October 2005, soon after the conclusion of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, the CPA. So some may find it baffling to hear me making such a stinging critique of the regime. Those who do not know me may be justified if they characterize my remarks as dishonest and self-seeking. However, anyone who is familiar with my service in the SPLM, starting from the early days of the liberation struggle in the bush and up to date, understands that I have always been consistent in my convictions. When it became clear to me as early as mid-2006 that our movement had started deviating from its course, I resigned my post as Minister of Regional Cooperation in the then government of Southern Sudan and left the country. And ever since my return to government in the late 2008 and up to the present, I've been clinging to the hope that our chairman and president would return to the fold of the SPLM, re-embrace his comrades, and work hand in hand with them to run the country in accordance with the vision, principles, and programs of the movement. It is now crystal clear that the dream of saving the SPLM under the incumbent leadership will never be fulfilled. And it is time for us, the cadres of the SPLM that still believe in it, to stand up and be counted. Even as some of you may disapprove of my decision, I know that the majority among you have likely been disappointed by the fact that a senior SPLM leader, such as myself, has remained mute all along. Meanwhile, the situation of South Sudan continues to deteriorate steadily. I know that as a member of the ruling elite, I cannot altogether escape blame for the mess in which we find ourselves today. But I now give you my solemn pledge that not only will I speak out, but perhaps more importantly, I will also act to contribute to bringing about the desired change. Fellow citizens, I finally wish to conclude with a message to our neighbors in the region. We deeply value the support and solidarity we have enjoyed from some of you over the years in the course of our bitter and long struggle. We further commend you for your continued contribution to the development of South Sudan, whether from the perspective of promoting mutually beneficial bilateral relationships or in the context of collective regional integration efforts. However, even as we applaud the positive role you have played in our evolution, we would also like to urge you to allow us space to exercise our sovereign right to freely chart our own policies, elect our own leaders, and craft our political destiny without undue hindrance.